Hi. I can't even see myself on the screen because it blacked out. But my name is Dr. Cheryl Meier. I'm just doing a quick check-in in nature again. I was on my hike. I'll show you guys. Because I just was on a Zoom call this morning, and there's people in Australia that haven't been out of the house. Like, they weren't allowed out in nature for God knows how long. I don't even know. I don't remember how many weeks they said, but it's been weeks. So I told them on the Zoom call I've been making videos out in nature. Maybe we ought to just have you guys look at this instead of my face. Let's see what you're looking at. All right. I'll just do this for a little bit. Just make sure it's recording, yeah. All right, so I was reflecting today on there's this idea, this mystery that Christ taught in the book of John. So John is the most mystical of the disciples, let's say, or the gospel writers at least. And so he shows the mystical path to Christ. And Christ, when he says, Amen, Amen, in Aramaic, I don't know, or Greek, I don't know, it means, like I've taken it in with my intuition to mean something like a deep, eternal mystery I'm about to reveal to you. So I was reflecting on one today, and it has to do with love, of course, because I connect everything to love. Go figure. That's what I'm like. Even organic chemistry. I made an A in college chemistry. It was my only honors class in high school as well, because I looked at all the chemicals as in relationships with each other, and I was trying to match this one with that one, and I could understand all of it. Like, it all made sense to me. And I loved organic chemistry because it just looked like trying to make chemical bonds with one group of chemicals with other ones and understand how that worked. So I just wanted to stay in that class for forever. That's really funny. Anyway, I'll go back to nature. So it has to do with love, of course. Because what are we here for? You know? Who are you and what are you here for? If it's not to learn how to love and be loved, then, you know, I don't know, to experience more love, But anyway, so we'll go back to the mystery. So he says, it's in John, and I forget which chapter, 14 maybe? No, I don't think it was that. Maybe I'll put it in the notes, in the description, but it doesn't matter. It's just a mystery that's being revealed to us. If it matters to you, you can look it up. I don't know. But he says, so Christ was saying, or was recorded as saying, unless a corn, you know, like a kernel of wheat falls into the ground, it remains alone. That's how it was written. It's in the passage that I read today, but I was looking at, and then I just meditated on my hike, so then I looked it up in the Greek, but I'll tell you in a second. So, unless a grain of wheat goes into the ground, it remains alone. So, but if it goes into the ground and dies, then it will bear much fruit. So that doesn't sound, oh look, there's a dog. What? Yeah, someone brought their dog. They're not meant to. Unless it's a stray. I don't know, it's not a stray. Just because there's coyotes out here and, you know, we don't want the dogs. Anyway, I won't go into it. Just observing nature as I'm talking to you guys. Because you never know, it might be part of our story. Like, these things come up for us. Magic happens. So unless a kernel of wheat, like, if you think of us think again like we are soul beings that have like this DNA that is meant to be lit up and activated. But we're walking around like a corn kernel. So I just had that in my mind, like, one yellow corn kernel on an ear of corn, and let's say that corn kernel gets married to another corn kernel, and they think that that's all they are. All they are is like a piece of dressed up corn, And they don't know that if they just died to themselves or died to our ego and buried themselves into the ground somehow, they could become, a whole corn plant. And then lots of corn grows off of it. And then lots of kernels are grown off of it. And the fruit that they produce could feed other people that have DNA that could be activated. It's so hard to put into words what was like what I was seeing in the quiet of my own quirky mind. And not just my mind, my soul, let's say. So I know part of what I was thinking is, here, I'll go back to me. Yeah, I think my phone's all hot, so I can't see any image really on it, barely. I was thinking of a seed and soil, and if you think of rich soil, there's not a lot of farmers that we know of personally, probably, if you live in the city or something like this, or in modern times. But my grandfather was a farmer. It was wartime, and you would get drafted unless you were a farmer. So he became a farmer really quick. This is how the story goes. I don't know what part is true, but he became a farmer, and then he didn't have to go to war. And so he had lots of land when I grew up. We would get motorbikes and ride all over the dirt bikes. That was the best time ever. Like when we had those and they were working, because we'd always never know if those things were going to be working, or if we could talk some cousin or uncle or someone into fixing them for us, so we could go all over the land just like this. He had, I don't know, over 100 acres. It's a lot of land in Arkansas. It's beautiful land too, and we'd go fishing and ride our dirt bikes all over and run away from the cows or chase the cows, or I don't know. We weren't that bad to them. I think we were probably more afraid of them than. So anyway, when you think of seed, if you know much about planting seeds, I don't know a whole lot, but I know that if there's rich soil that has minerals, and here's the sun, if we knew that we were this amazing seed, and that's what we really are, is this soul being, this spark of God inside of us that's just housed in this body, Oh, by the way, let's see what I'm wearing again. My rose shirt lights my fire. This rose heart, fan the flame. I had to get out of the house quick today. We're selling our house. The house that I live in. So someone else wanted to look at it, and I just grabbed whatever clean shirt I had. As far as I knew, that's what I grabbed. But I'm sure what I'm going to be talking about in a little bit, and I'm not going to go long today because I'm really thirsty, and I want to get back to my car where I have a drink, is Hearts on Fire, for sure, is what I'm going to be talking about a little bit. But if a seed knew that, if I was like a grape seed, and I knew all I had to do was shed this outer grape part of me, and, the seeded grapes that some people have still, and I could go in the ground, and out of me this vine would grow, and people could have grapes and make wine out of it, and all this fantastic stuff, grape jelly for their toast, all this great stuff could be made out of me just allowing myself, my outer self that's not even me. What if the real self is this seed that's meant to sprout up? But I was taught my whole life that I'm just this corn kernel or this grape, and like, hi, I'm a grape. And dress it all up, put a crown on it, whatever, And hey, I got lots of money. I got this, I got that. Look at this makeup I can put on my grape self, who cares? But it's like, if I knew that I would be safe in the ground, here's ground, and lifting up. This is ground, it got all over my phone. But let's say, let's say that I knew that it was fertile soil and good soil and there were minerals in it, and rain was going to come and make sure that my roots would go deep and that the plant of me would shoot out and that the sun would warm me and make it so that I would get the nutrients and stuff from the sun or wherever else they come from, so that I would grow and I would be this amazing vine, let's say. And later on in Saint John, whatever, in the book of John, Christ says, I am the vine. And I was in a class today and the teacher was saying, and the mother, father, God, is the vine dresser, because the word father can be Abba, and it can be Abba or Ab, like my dear one, the dear one that cares for me. So I like thinking of it like that, like the nurturing mother and father are going to make sure that the plant of me grows. See, the problem, here we go back to love. The problem of all of this is if we had experiences in childhood, again, where people we were meant to trust, like sort of abandoned us or betrayed us or stepped on us or told us we had to perform and be a good grape and jump through all these hoops and be this and that and all these things that we weren't, There's a crow. All these things that they thought that we had to be because they thought they had to be that. And if we messed up at all, they'd go, you're doing the wrong thing and people are going to reject you if you do the wrong thing. So you can't ever mess up. And so when you can't mess up, then you don't want to try new things because you don't feel safe to try them. You feel like you're going to get rejected and stepped on and made fun of and rejected and left alone again and lonely. And loneliness is really painful when you're a child sometimes. So we have this pain body that Eckhart Tolle talks about a lot. Other people have talked about it all through thousands of years, at least 2,000 or more. So we don't know to trust. So if we have like a grape self, why would we give that up and surrender that and face some kind of death? But it's pretty boring just being a grape or a corn, hey corn, how are you? If you can be so much more, if you could make 1,000 corn plants out of you, or a whole vineyard out of one grape that grew, I heard about these people that got just a root. I don't think it was olive trees. I think it was a root of this one kind of wine that grew in like Italy or Israel or somewhere. And they had to wait 4 years until they could plant it in California or something, so that it's I don't know, for agriculture reason, not just that, from some tax law or something silly, but it's like some grape seed produced that root, and that root is what they can start a whole vineyard from that, But if we don't trust, then we don't surrender. And we keep holding on to this grape self of ours. And we miss out. That's the problem. I keep hearing this in my mind, so I might as well say it because I don't know why it keeps coming back up. But I did yoga this morning, early this morning. It was early for me. It was like 8. When we're all at home, I think it was 8. Yeah, 7:45 to 8:45 or so. That's what time I used to do it a long time ago before all this happened. But anyway, so the yoga teacher was saying, challenge yourself, but without judgment. Go to the edge, like stretch yourself and move into your pose, but don't judge yourself, because when you judge yourself, you shut down and you overthink and you're like, oh, I must be doing this wrong. But he said, trust the poses. The poses will you'll do the work in the poses. And I hesitate. Let's see I don't know if I can, I don't know if you can, it just doesn't, it looks silly. But my arm has become really strong. And I don't like it in the camera, but anyway, it's become really strong. And if someone had told me it's just from doing yoga, your arm would get all buff like that, I'd be like, whatever, you might go and try to lift weights just to create an arm like this. But this was just from doing the poses over and over and over again and getting my balance at the same time and building strength in my core and all other parts of my body. And so it's like your ego will try to run after things and build things. And when you surrender, sometimes you build something so much more beautiful. But when we don't feel like we can trust from our childhood experiences, we don't trust to die to ourselves, to face our shadow selves. And so let me tell you a tiny little story about, there once was a young lady, a young woman. I'm sure there's been lots of young women like this and young men. Who thought she was going to have a 10 out of 10 love in her life. And so it's like you create a life for yourself and you don't realize all the barriers you have to intimacy, all the fears you have. So you find someone and you say, hey, let's build this love together. And you don't realize that both of you are scared of love. And so it's like, hey, why don't we agree to have 6 out of 10 love, or 5 out of 10? Or why don't we agree to have a relationship where we're a mile apart from each other and that's a comfortable distance? And then it doesn't rock the boat. It doesn't bring up much of my shadow self. Some of it I have to deal with, but I can just blame you. And I can get mad at you, and you carry my stuff and I'll carry your stuff, and we'll just pretend to be happy or think that we're happy or see, for me, I'm not talking about myself, no. I was going to say, for me, it's subconscious. It's like you get used to this idea from your own parents that this is as much love as you can have. And you're like, no, I want to go further than that. So you go a little bit further than that, or as far as you think you can. But then there's more. And something wonderful in your life can trigger you. And oftentimes, I know for dear friends of mine, car accident happened to one of their children, and it really triggered all this stuff. They had to let go of everything that they thought they were holding on to and counting on, and she had to relearn how to walk and talk and write and, repattern the pathways in her brain, had to relearn how to think using the part of her brain that was still available to her. And so it can be, oftentimes in adversity, we get triggered and we learn all these new things. But what can happen also is you can feel a deep love, and it just cracks you open, because it's still a mystery to me. So I'm still just describing it, but I want to encourage you guys, whoever else is in the middle of this, because I feel like this whole virus thing that's going on is awakening a lot of people. And so this is happening to a lot of people. Oh, here, I did it the wrong way. There's people down the trail with good music. But anyway, so what can happen is, even before this, I was a year ago or more, I was singing what I mentioned in the last video, is like, bring me a higher love. My whole life I've been looking for a higher love, wanting to understand and wanting to understand the limits of the soul of a human being, and go beyond the limits and not take no for an answer. Just keep learning, how can we love more highly, on a deeper basis, more real, more sincere, more. But sometimes you get disheartened and you just sort of shut down and become numb, and you don't realize how numb you've become until something wakes you up. And then you're on like this roller coaster and you're cracked open, and all of your wounds from childhood get resurfaced, and you sort of re-experience those, and it breaks you down, and you're like, what is this? I don't want anything to do with this. And you try to run the other way, and you push people away again because you don't want to go into all of that pain. But what if, what if all that pain is just coming up so it can be cleared out, so that you can love for real and develop real intimacy? So it's like, let's just dive in. Let's go into all this shadow stuff. Let's feel the pain and learn how to not identify with it. Feel it and know that I'm learning I am a soul self, and my worth doesn't have anything to do with how other people define me. I forgot I was going to look up the 4 agreements. I have them on like a picture on my phone in my favorites. But I know one of them is, it's never personal. So when other people hurt you, it's about their own unconscious behavior. They're just acting on robot mode or mechanical mode or whatever. They react to whatever's going on, whatever way their ego was triggered, until they know that there's a soul self underneath that. They're not just this grain of corn. They are this soul being underneath that. But if you know you're a soul being, then you're not triggered by them, because who cares if they reject you? Because they're only rejecting you because they're not recognizing you are like this soul lit up energy ball of love. I don't know how to describe it, but you are God. You are connected to the eternal source of all that is love. And they can be connected to that too. And if they were connected to that, they wouldn't run away from you. They would just be present with you. It doesn't matter if they accept you or reject you, but they would know how to be present, and they wouldn't be scared of their own rejection, or scared that they're doing something wrong, or scared that they're going to fall in the pose, or that the pose isn't going to give them muscles, or is going to. That doesn't matter. None of that matters, because you wake up to, oh, I was that seed inside of that. I wasn't just that grape or that corn, I didn't have anything to prove. I didn't have anything to change. 'Cause you're amazing, just the way you are. Not because you're like a good-looking grape, but because you're finding out who your real soul self is. This road of dying and surrendering, it's so fun to surrender. It's so fun when you're just like, I can't say the phrase that I want to say. Something to the wall. You're just like, let's go, like whatever. I say it to my kids sometimes, but it just like letting go of everything, and you never know what's going to happen, and it's fun, and you're in faith, but you're, how do I describe it? Let me think. I know. One way I was thinking of it is just like, if I learned that St. Nicholas, Father Christmas, Santa Claus was this kind, loving being that's generous, and he shows up every Christmas and wants to give us gifts, it's really fun surrendering to that, and like, what is going to happen? What is he going to bring down the chimney? Like, what is going to be in that big red bag? Like, how happy is he going to be this Christmas? And is he going to eat my Christmas cookies? And I better decorate them really pretty or whatever, you know? The other day I was talking about Father Christmas because I was reading the Narnia books. Oh, not, yeah, I was talking about Lucy and Narnia in some of my videos. And it was the same day that I found him. And we were selling our house, like I said. So I was cleaning something up. And behind something, I found, maybe I'll put them on this if I can remember, or if I edit this at all, is I found these stickers that were all the way from Christmas. So what are we in now? April? And so they were behind something or underneath something, but they were all glittery. And I was like, oh my gosh, these are the prettiest stickers of Santa Claus. They're so pretty, you know? And so it's like, if you're trusting like a child, then it's fun to surrender because you just don't know what's going to happen. You don't know, like, you know, you think, can this seed, like, who knows what it's gonna, is it gonna like make Jack and the Beanstalk, and then the beanstalk all grows up, and then you'll get to the castle and you'll find the castle has the goose that lays the golden eggs and the harp that sings and all these riches and a castle in the sky and all this beauty. And that story is about reclaiming your old heritage, because Jack goes up the beanstalk and all of that stuff was his father's, he finds out later. He's just reclaiming it. And so this is what happens when you find your soul self and you surrender, is you do find your real self and your authentic self. And the 4 agreements, it's like you don't even need to read that book, because when you're out of your ego, no one's gonna hurt you. No one can bribe you because you don't care for what they have to offer. So you're not gonna sell out for anything. You're going to have a true love for someone because you're not going to be codependent. You don't need them to give you anything. You watch them as they connect to the source of all things, and they become that, and it shines through them. And you're not insecure, and you can tell them, I love you, I love you, I love you. I love you with all my heart. And I never want to be parted, but it's okay if we are parted, because I am love and you are love. And I'm not worried about you crushing me by rejecting me, because I'm not going to get crushed, because I am this light. This light flows through me. I found out when I died, when I surrendered, that I am the Christ in me shines now. And I was scared to go to that place because I thought I would do it wrong, or I thought I would lose myself. But Christ says, he says, this is an eternal mystery. Whoever loses yourself finds yourself. You find your real self. It doesn't look like that here. Like when my heart was being broken these past months and I felt like I was dying, felt like I was in a burning flame, not of roses, like lights the fire. I don't know if it's, yeah, it just felt like a fire, not the lit part or the roses part. Sometimes it would be super beautiful like that. But it's made me so much freer as a person and so much less dependent on circumstances or other people. And even if I never find true love in like a romantic way or something, I found it within myself. Look, you guys, the heart's still over there. See the heart? And I wanted to walk back because I want that water, and it's 30 more minutes that way. But something in me was like, just stay here. It'll be more beautiful for the video. And now I see, because we got the heart. But I'm going to wrap this up. Just be encouraged. When your shadow self starts surfacing, it's so that it can get cleared out and burnt away so that you can have true love finally. When it feels like you want to run from that and not surrender, know that it's always worth it. It's worth it for you, because you find your real authentic self that can't be shaken. But it's also worth it for everybody else. It brings so much more joy, because the joy has more room to flow through you, because all these channels have been cleaned and cleared up in your centers. And you know who you are now. You're not a grape. You're like a whole vine that's full of grapes that can keep producing grapes and producing and producing. But you might not see evidence of it at first. It's like Moses and them, once they were leaving slavery, they walked into the water. I read this old Torah commentary a long, long time ago. And I was really struck by that. They walked into the water, and then it parted. It doesn't look like it's going to part. But even if it doesn't, like I said, even if it doesn't, you know what? The stuff that was burned out of me makes me a better person, makes me a better mom, makes me more real, less afraid, more courageous, more willing to surrender, more willing to have faith to surrender, more willing to feel my feelings, to not be afraid of love, to not be afraid of intimacy. Like there's a bee. It's just right there. It landed on my wallet here, my phone. Live if you want to live, to quote Bob Marley. Appreciate the burning. It's just burning away what doesn't need to be there anymore. We don't need to torture ourselves. Be gentle with yourself in this process, but challenge yourself. That's why. Challenge yourself without judgment. Trust the poses. They'll do the work. You just show up and you keep doing the work. If you want to. Or else run away, you know? I don't encourage that path, but live and let live, you know? I like keep on keeping on. What are we here for if not? We asked for love. We asked for a deeper love. Maybe this path is bringing it. All right, I wish you much love. Look at that. Look on our path. On my back. Wow.
Oh yeah. I haven't moved.
Maybe she's just resting.
Oh.
It's okay.